something I want to tell you, and I'm really scared of doing that and of telling that. So, I mean, there's one reason I went off Instagram and I went to X. So for a long time, I did a lot of videos and I had a business. I had my coaching business. So I'm basically going to give you some context now. So there's something I want to do with video, with the format of video, because I really like the format of video, because it's very colorful. You can see so much, you can hear. So I like the video format. But I've been posting a lot on Instagram for quite some time. I think I have like 200 videos or something when like, hey, I'm Lucas, and like this thing like, hey, I'm Lucas. And I mainly was doing it for business reasons, right? So, I mean, there was one reason where I'm a whore for attention. I just love to get attention. I love to be on the stage, and it just, some people, they hate it. They're like, no, don't put me on the stage. I would rather die. And I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. Like, there's a part of me that is just exhilarated. Maybe that's some childhood trauma, or I was like, as a child, like I wasn't getting enough attention. So I'm like, finally, I can get the attention from people. So, but probably that's a part of me. And I think actually a lot of actors, like from what I've read, they're driven by approval seeking. So they want to be loved. But some of them, you know, like, who was that? Jim Carrey, right? No, that wasn't him. That was another guy, Robin Williams, like not the singer, but the actor. I think that's his name. I'm horrible with actors' names. But yeah, it turns out some people kill themselves, right? They are looking so much for this approval, for this validation. Yeah, but that's way deeper than I actually want to go right now. But so I basically did it for business reasons, right? And I did it to get clients for my coaching, to help people with their habits, which I'm really obsessed with, passionate about. And it was fun, but I felt my reach was kind of, how you say, it wasn't going up. Like I wasn't reaching more people. So at some point I was like, is this really worth it? Producing these videos, cutting them, putting in the nice graphics and all of that. And I was like, not really. I'm not getting the results I want to do. And then I switched to writing, right? I was like, no, actually, video is great, but there's so many moving parts to that. So at first I better start because if you look at and I'm aware I'm jumping topics a lot. So that's the way my mind works, to be honest. And some people, they told me that's hard to follow. I really like that. I like people who can jump quickly with their mind, but I'll try to keep it a bit more sequential so you can follow along. So basically, when you communicate, when you want to connect with people with a message that you have, then you have talking, which is like this is talking, video format, audio, podcasts, and in person, of course. You could also meet someone in person, although it's not really necessary, I think, with the internet, because you can just talk to people with your phone. So I don't really see the reason for meeting people in person. I think it's way better if you just do it on your phone, right? Or if you have a big screen, it's a lot of fun because you see the person is actually bigger than in real life, which is great when you're short-sighted, which I'm a bit short-sighted. So it's actually better, I think, than the actual real life interactions. And I hope you could tell that was my sarcasm. But when you formulate the message, there are a lot of moving parts. So it's where are you coming from? Who are you talking to? How do you structure your thoughts into a coherent message? Something that actually connects with people, where you're not just blurting it out, but you're thinking about, okay, how can I formulate this to connect with people? And I realized writing is really and there's one guy that I really love, which his name is Dan Cohen. He's a writer. He's like, they call it a creator, but I mean, he's not doing any like fancy content and then having some deals with whatever sugar water companies that destroy people's health. I probably shouldn't say that, so the algorithm is gonna penalize me. It's gonna have like 0 views or something, or maybe 1 view, and it's gonna say, hey, if you want to boost this Instagram post, pay us, pay Mark, and I won't say the name because it's gonna penalize me even further, but probably AI is gonna recognize what I'm saying anyways, so, you know, but I'll say it anyways, because for the sake of freedom, I want to stand in for freedom, just for the freedom of the people, and that's basically my message here. So I'll stand proud with my criticism of society and of sugar drinks, because they're horrible, because they mess up your brain in ways that you might not even know about, and your insulin, building insulin resistance. So, yeah. So when you formulate a message and you want it to land with people, you need to be proficient at communication. To be proficient at communication, you either grow up with parents or in a social environment that teaches you those foundational social skills to a high level. Let's say your parents are entrepreneurs. They have a huge circle of friends. You see them, whatever, you see them communicating, meeting a lot of people. You get to know a lot of people. You practice your social skills a lot, and you talk to a lot of people, and maybe they even encourage you to get on stage. They encourage you to work in their business, whatever. They're like, you're in a position where you're very social. Or maybe you have a great connections at school. You build your own social circle. So, and I mean, that's not the same as selling and communicating with impact, but it's certainly, it's going in a very similar direction, right? Because you're understanding, you're developing empathy for other people. But let's say you don't have a childhood like that. Let's say there is a lot of turmoil, there is a lot of trauma in your childhood, and oftentimes when you grow up in an environment that is unstable, your own psyche gets unstable, and people, if there's one thing I've learned about people, and I had a hard time learning about human communication. I don't think, maybe I'm a little bit autistic or something, but so when you grow up in such an unstable environment, your mind is unstable, your nervous system is unstable, and you get insecure. You get needy, you want other people's approval, and people are disgusted by that energy. Why? Because it's like animals avoiding a sick animal. It's not personal. It's basically a drive for survival, and people just want to maximize their own chances of ascending the hierarchy of social status, right? And their own survival, which is connected. So actually those kids that are like, and there's some harsh things that kids say to other kids, right? Like boys get, they get like, what do you say? Mobbed, yeah, at school. Same happens to girls. Then you enter puberty. Then not only do you want to be loved, you also want to be desired, right? So there's more room for re-traumatization in a social context, especially at school, right? And let's say that happens, and this is so interesting because one thing I read about or I heard was, when you look at chimpanzees, like apes, right? And you have the apes at the very lowest of the social hierarchy. Their nervous system and their immune system is actually dysregulated, because they're like, oh fuck, I'm at the bottom of the rung, what the fuck, I need to survive, right? So they are not in an optimal state of functioning, let's call it, right? Those monkeys, it's a pity, right? And it happens in nature. I have a heart for animals. I eat animal meat. Yes, I love meat, but I still have a heart for animals, which is, how you say, contrived, or there's a word there, right? Like a hypocrisy, right? Maybe, right? But I just value my health, and I know I feel better when I eat meat. So that's that. But I don't eat monkey meat. One, because monkey meat is illegal. and I really like to adhere to the law, just so I don't get into trouble. And second, it would be really horrible. Like I shouldn't talk about this, but you know, that's my intention. I want to be unfiltered here. So feel free to switch to something else if you're still listening, or to report it if you're like, no, this is offensive content. There's this like almost bald guy with like a weird thing on his head. He's talking about eating monkeys. He's inciting people to do stuff against the law. Please lock him down, delete his channel, you know, put this person somewhere safe where he can't harm anyone. So if you want to do that, I fully encourage you. It's like, that's your right. I want you to be independent, make independent decisions. That's my intention here with my video message, with the messages that are going to follow. So please go ahead. But yeah, so I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to eat the monkey flesh. Of course, you can do so, although I would advise against it, but it's your free will. I'd say you need to make that call, right? So when we look at these monkeys at the bottom of the social hierarchy, right, then we can see that they're dysregulated. If the nervous system and the body is dysregulated, how do you think that affects the performance of the mind and of your ability to learn, right? I mean, there's one thing that we have these markers, right? Like when something, boom, really intense happens, it sticks to our mind. Like Jim Quick, there's like a memory guru, right? Learning guru. He said that when you form a memory is information plus emotion. Emotion is the way our brain marks up memories. When something happens, it's like, oh, this is important, right? Positive or negative. And also, emotions guide our thinking. So maybe you've noticed that when you have certain emotions, like let's say you just were in a relationship, right? And you're thinking about that person, and emotions come up. And those emotions will pull your thinking along with them. It's very hard to resist the pull of emotions. Or if you have intuitive feelings, right, they're going to direct your thinking. So basically, this is a way of the whole system of the human, where a part of that system, or the parts that are more, you know, the whole iceberg metaphor, right, where it's like there's so much below the surface, right? So that's this part below the surface that's communicating with you, and one device that it's using are the emotions that bubble up in your consciousness and that direct the train of your thoughts, that, you know, put it on a different trajectory, because the emotions pull your mind along. And it's very similar, and that there's a whole cycle of this happening, right? Hey, there is somebody watching live. I am so happy. I'm feeling very, very pleased by that. Please don't leave, or I will be very devastated. You don't want to do that. Have that on your conscience. No, I'm just kidding. You can go if you want. So this is a way that our emotions are guiding our behavior. And when we look at entrenched habit patterns like trauma, where there is a huge emotional charge, and our body has really remembered this because it was like, oh, this is really important, right? Then this is going to pull our behavior in a predictable direction, because that's just our system doing what it's supposed to do, which is learn from real life experience and apply those learnings, right? But of course it can get stuck. And if we go back to that, and if you're wondering what I'm doing, which I didn't come back to, so basically, and I'll return to the monkey, right, in a second, after I have avoided this car killing me, but it's moving pretty slow, so I think I'm safe. Yes. Phew. So maybe that's like the experience of this monkey at the lowest rung of the monkey hierarchy, where he's like, phew, I just survived, and he's really happy for a moment. But the trauma, the patterns, they come back, and they can dominate our behavior, and they can stop us from doing things that we really want to do, that are in our nature, because it's going to create a certain, like a cage for our behavior, even for our thinking, right? Because you might want to avoid difficult thoughts that trigger difficult emotions. We don't want to go there, which is natural, right? So what I am doing is basically I started doing a lot of videos on Instagram, noticed it's not really picking up speed, was putting in a lot of effort into that for my coaching business. Then I realized, no, I need to master writing. I want to master writing because it will help me formulate clearer ideas and to speak more cohesively, to be more persuasive in my communication. Not because I want to convince people that I'm so cool, which I guess everybody wants to do that, to be honest. And part of me wants to do that, I'll be honest. But because I want to bring value in the world, right? And it's very frustrating when you're like, oh, I've got all this value that I want to bring into the world, and you're doing it and you're doing the work and you're posting, and it's like, oh, there's like 5 views, 20 views, and you're like, I worked so hard on this. Why aren't more people watching this? People watch all this shit. Why don't they watch my useful videos, right? So that was really frustrating me. And then I started working and I started focusing on writing, and I started working for this personal branding agency. I was reading a book about ghostwriting, and that book was like, you need to be a ghostwriter. Because if you're a ghostwriter, you can connect with cool people, you can network with them, you can really hone your writing skills, and you meet such cool people, and you make a shitload of money. And I was like, I need to be a ghostwriter. I need to write and meet cool people, and I need to make a shitload of money. And it was very convincing, and I always liked writing. So I actually did that. I found a job where I was freelancing for a personal branding agency that worked with very interesting sports thing with men, very resounding voices, probably talking about soccer. So I did that for 6 months. I worked there, and they had very, let's say, high caliber clients. Like, I was pretty intimidated, like CEOs of like companies that were of public companies, like important people, like you'd say. But mostly what I've noticed, really very driven, focused people, and very analytical, like very smart people, very interesting. And it was super challenging. I learned a lot, and I didn't do any more videos. I've mostly focused on my work, and in the process also destroyed, maybe not destroyed, but it had an effect on my romantic relationship, which kind of went away during the time, or after that time as well. But I learned a lot of things, and I really got into writing, and I realized, wow, I really enjoy writing. So now, why am I bringing video back? It's because I enjoy the medium. Like, it's different when you write. You have this narrow tunnel that you have this medium that is very restrictive in a sense. But the restriction makes it interesting because you have to express yourself within those constraints of that medium, right? But I still like video, but I want to do video in a way where I really try to be fully authentic. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to position myself in any way. So, and this is hard, right? Because it's also hard to just keep talking into my phone, like walking here, and some people are probably weirded out by that. I speak a little bit more quietly. So yeah, it's a different medium, and I just basically I want to do like a diary. Like, people have all these fancy videos. They're like, yeah, look how cool everything is. Look how convincing my product is. And I basically just want to be like, hey, here's the non-cool part of social media. This is me just authentically sharing whatever is there. Hopefully something is of value. Like, that's something I aspire to do. Produce something that is of interest, of value to other people, or maybe entertaining, right? And yeah, that's basically why I want to start recording videos. Again, just being very attentive to my own desires to shape how everything is going to be perceived. Like, even when I was walking, even when I was walking, I was like, oh, I really need to structure this. I really need to make this, make it land, structure it in a way that's really cool. How can I say things? What things shouldn't I say? And it's hard to avoid that tendency. I think it's very human. Like, we want to present ourselves in a way that's attractive to, and it makes sense, right, to people who might buy from us, to people who might want to date us, but the issue with that is that, yes, welcome to the interior of my humble abode right now. I'll try to get some fresh air. The issue with that is it constricts your ability to express yourself. And let's come back to this monkey that I talked about, like the monkey at the bottom of the hierarchy. The monkey is so scared of doing something wrong. You know, maybe he looks at a female monkey the wrong way, and like the stronger monkey comes and bashes his head in, because he doesn't have he cannot exhibit behavioral flexibility because of his conditioning, basically. And is it reality? Is the monkey really at the bottom of the hierarchy? Could he ascend the hierarchy? That's maybe more an example for men. But I think there's a lot of hierarchy going on with women as well, right? Oh, it's about the beauty. It's about presenting yourself. The whole concept of slut shaming, as they call it, which is something women do. That's been proven in science. Like, women do slut shaming. Men are not slut shaming. It's the women. Because via slut shaming, they can negatively impact the sexual desirability of another woman, which in turn makes their position better in comparison to that woman, because that woman is then perceived as a slut, so to speak, right? But yeah, is that monkey really at the bottom of the hierarchy, or isn't he? Is that all in his mind? Is it reality? I think it's both. I think there's like all the other monkeys, they're used to, oh, this is still the monkey at the bottom of the hierarchy. They're like treating him a certain way in their mind. It's also ingrained in their mind. So, and the same way we train the people around us. And this effect is strongest in our most intimate relationships. So there's a lot of people that say, it's so hard, I'm changing, but my family doesn't accept that. There's a lot of tension. I'm growing so much, but my partner doesn't accept it for whatever reason. Again, partner wants to maintain or wants to ensure. Yes, so the internet was acting up. I had to switch to my mobile internet. So yeah, so we take the monkey and other monkeys, and then exactly the family. So family doesn't want you to change. They're like, oh no, what's happening to him? What's happening to her? They've changed so much. I don't want that. I want to keep them close. I don't want to lose touch. And same with the partner. Partner might be like, oh no, is he or is she going to leave me for someone better? Are they developing in a direction that is maybe not the same as mine? And people get scared, and people want to feel safe, right? So they might pull their partner back. And I think in the same way, that's with the monkey. The other monkeys might be like, no, we're used to you being at the bottom of the hierarchy. So there's friction whenever you want to change something, like when you have a traumatic conditioning, there's going to be some friction if you want to work through that. And I mean, there's people who talk like, no, just let go. There's letting go. And I like that. I read part of that book, and I did a lot of Joe Dispenza's work. And I still think it's great. I did a lot of meditation, like, I don't know, 6,000 hours of meditation probably over the years. And I've tracked it for some time. And I used to feel like, oh, I can't be proud of that. And I felt proud of it. Now I don't, I think, yes, I still feel a bit proud of it for doing it. But, yeah, and I think meditation is an amazing tool. It's an amazing modality. And meditation, I mean, like a formal meditation, sitting, especially Vipassana, like a metta meditation, Buddhist kind of meditation, breath meditation. But I think it's easy. And this is a whole different topic, right? It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking there is this one perfect modality, this one healing thing, and this one ideology, and it's going to solve all my problems. There is this one person, and I've had these people over the years. I was like, oh, this is the person. They have the perfect system. This is the perfect system for me. I can solve all my problems. I can finally be happy. And I realized this is not how reality works. It's a lot more complex. It's a lot more nuanced. And agency and taking responsibility is a lot more important than finding the right guru, right? But it's a hard lesson, and it's difficult to do that. It's painful often. And like I said, there is friction when you want to change something. So, but basically what I wanted to say with the monkey is the monkey at the bottom of the hierarchy, he is limited in his expression. And when he's limited in what he can do, his brain shuts down. His brain is not like, yeah, I'm playing, like children. That's why we love children so much. Children, they play, they express themselves, they're free. Like, they're not stifled. Like, if you grow up, then you're like, hey, nice to meet you. Yes. What do you do? How was your job? Oh, it's Monday, right? And people, they get stifled. And some people more, some people less. I'm not judging it. I'm sure I'm stifled in many ways. And these videos for me are an attempt to unstifle myself, to maybe bring a free-flowing energy where I'm not censoring what I'm saying, where I'm just sharing what's present, right? And yeah, so if we look at at the monkey, we say, okay, he's not in a state where he can be creative. Like, let's say the little monkeys, they're playing, they're exploring, which is the optimal learning state, right? Curiosity, there's the flow triggers. We have like curiosity, autonomy, and all of that. And I don't know all of them, but that's two that come to mind. And if we look at that monkey in a survival situation, he's not in flow, right? He's not in flow in that situation, probably, right? And I haven't made science experiments on monkeys, analyzed their brain waves or something. But I think that's a strong guess to say that. Or let's take a person. Let's say like I said before, you grew up in a difficult home. You have some trauma, some relationship trauma with your parents, some attachment trauma. I'm not blaming the parents either, right? Not blaming my parents or saying, hey, you should blame your parents. I'm just saying there might be some trauma present, puts you in a survival state. You're the monkey at the bottom. You're second guessing yourself all the time. You can't express yourself freely because you're like, oh shit, I need to survive. I want to be loved. I'm not being loved at home. I want to be loved at school. I'm so scared. The world is overwhelming. My nervous system is dysregulated. My experience as a kid, you might have guessed that I'm speaking from experience there, and the experience of many people, men and women that I've talked to, that are friends of mine, that I know. And like I said, this people tend to mirror back what you give them, right? So if you give them insecurity, if you give them second guessing, if you're constricted, if you're not expressive, if you're easily hurt, people are most likely, except for a few exceptions, who can kind of break this instinctive reaction of avoiding the sick part of the herd, right? And I think that is definitely a human trait, a human instinct to do that. I don't think there's any malign intent. Maybe it gets mixed up with some people. They derive some kind of sick pleasure of mobbing, of hurting someone. And I mean, that's another complex issue. I'm not going to put any judgment there. But I think for the most part, it is just a natural human tendency to want to preserve their own life, to want to preserve their status in the hierarchy, in the social hierarchy. Humans are social animals. Social hierarchy is very important. Status is very important. It plays into everything. It plays into dating, business. It plays into how you feel with yourself. And it plays into how your nervous system and how your immune system, like I said about the scientific research they did about the monkey at the bottom of the hierarchy, having the highest stress hormones. And I mean, it's kind of, and having a bad immune system, basically. And it's kind of logical if you think about it, right? Because the monkey is stressed out of his mind because he feels like, oh, fuck, I need to survive, right? And so when you're at that level as a child, through whatever circumstances, maybe you're just sensitive. Like sometimes they say, oh, you didn't have such a bad childhood. Why? Some people like, why are you so traumatized? And it's like, in my understanding, trauma is subjective. Trauma is not objective, right? So people deal differently with their experiences, and maybe some needs weren't met, so whatever, right? But then you're at school and you get it amplified. Like you really want this, you really want the acceptance, you want the love. Then in puberty you start, you want to feel desired as well, in addition to just feeling accepted. And you get the amplification of your self-perception, of your dysregulated nervous system, which can, to be fair, fuck you up even more, right? And it takes some time to get out of that because that's so complex. Like if I were 12 again or 13 or 15 and I would watch this video that I'm recording right now, I would like, I don't understand this. I don't have the capacity to fit this into my reality and to make sense of this, right? Which is, I guess, part of the human experience. Like, you're always wiser after you've gone through it. But so this monkey, coming back to the, okay, what's the ideal state of learning? What's looking at human potential, flow psychology. So if you're in a constricted state, if you're that monkey at the bottom of the hierarchy, if you're that girl, that boy at school, and you want to be loved, and you're not getting what you need, and you're reenacting your trauma, the impressions of those, whatever those traumatic memories stored in you, the beliefs that you developed as a result of that, which is still your choice, but you developed it, right? And it's ingrained now, and now you're getting that feedback from your environment. You're blocked from a state of flow. You're blocked from expressing your full potential, right? And I think that's hugely important, because if you cannot function from a place that is at least getting close to an ideal state of functioning as a human, you're not going to have so much fun. You're going to have trouble flirting with other people, meeting a partner. Like, there's lots of very beautiful women who are like, oh, why do I never get approached, right? Why don't guys come up to me? And I'm like, and I've known girls where they get approached all the time. And I've seen those girls, and of course, there is no objective way to tell if a girl is beautiful or if she isn't beautiful. There's taste, there's symmetry. Let's not get into that. But in my experience, oftentimes people don't connect with other people, not because they're not attractive, not because they're not cool, but because on some level internally they are blocking that connection from happening because they're afraid of being rejected. Again, right, if they had that pattern in the past. So they're not even open for other people, and other people who are sensitive to that, they see that and they don't go there because there's no openness, right? Which is another example of how patterns that we develop, and they say the brain tries to prove itself right? So you're not believing what you're seeing, but you're seeing what you're believing. So there's the self-confirmation bias, and it's happening in all areas of our life. And this is just one part of your life where it might happen, right? You're like, I'm not desirable, girls or guys, whatever, they don't like me. It's so hard for me to find a mate. And then you're like embodying that energy. And of course, that's what's coming back, right? And the feedback you're getting is again amplifying and strengthening that pattern, right? Which is kind of easy to talk about it. And it's not so easy to break that. Like, I have that in my own life with like finances for me. I've had it with meeting girls for a long time. Like, that was very difficult in my own life for a long time. So, but at the same time, it's a place where there's a lot of potential, because when you realize that there is the possibility of breaking out of that pattern, you get really excited, right? And you can start to do that work. And I mean, which is a big reason that what pulled me into self-development and getting very obsessed about self-development was just realizing there is all this potential, and it's just not in some special people. But those people are people that are expressing their potential. But the question is, how can I express my potential, and how can I help other people express their potential? Which brings me back to the reason why I'm making these videos. It's just I want to document authentically and not do some, oh, this is my cool video for Instagram. These are the highlights from my life. This is how super cool I've solved this problem, which is great. Content that helps you solve a problem is brilliant. I think it's a very honest and valuable way to do marketing. I think it's good if you're a coach, or if you're working as how you say it, like a counselor, or if you in any capacity you work with people, or in business you help them solve a problem. That's great, right? But yeah, I just want to create this authentic valve, this authentic medium, use this as an authentic medium to express myself, maybe to encourage others to do the same, because I don't think it's so natural nowadays to do that, to express ourselves just without censoring ourselves. And also for me as a challenge, because like I said, I noticed myself planning, oh, what am I gonna say? And I was like really hesitant to start this live, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk like 20-30 minutes and I'm just gonna talk, and I was already censoring and contracting myself. So I want to go into this relaxation, and maybe I can inspire someone who's watching this to also lean into that capacity for self-expression, because I think from this unhinged, to a certain extent, right, not going over the rails and like completely crazy, I still have some, like, still want to maintain a certain level of control there, but I think there is a lot more potential for great ideas to emerge, for authentic moments to happen, than if it's very constricted, if it's very, I want to create a great marketing message. And I don't know if people are going to watch it. That's not my main objective. It's great. I'm happy if somebody watches this, and if it's useful to you in whatever way. That's certainly an objective. But my main objective is just expressing myself and practicing expressing myself freely, and then opening that valve, opening those blocks of self-expression, and just being authentic and seeing where it takes me. Yeah, so I hope that was helpful. I think I wrapped up all the pieces. So about the monkey, the climbing out of constricting patterns. Yeah, that's really what was on my mind today that I wanted to talk about. I think I could talk about more stuff, but I'm gonna leave it at that. And yeah, hope it was useful in some way. If you watch this, maybe I can encourage you to think about what got triggered by this in like maybe a positive sense, like where you're like, oh, I really like this concept, this idea, I feel a resonance to that, I want to explore that. Maybe another concept was like, no, I really don't like this. Maybe what's the resistance? Maybe there's some resistance. Yeah. And yeah, I encourage you to share yourself freely, to express yourself. It's a lot of fun. It's scary, but I think it's definitely worth it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have an amazing Monday.